It is a Saturday morning in July, and you are standing in your own backyard with a cup of coffee going cold in your hand. You cannot drink it, not because anything is wrong with the coffee, because the moment you stepped outside, 3 of them found you. One on the wrist, one on the back of the neck, one already gone before you felt it land. You slap. You step sideways. Another one. You go back inside. Your yard. Your Saturday morning. And you cannot stand in it for 5 minutes in peace. Now picture your neighbor 2 doors down. Same July, same county, same wet summer. She is sitting on her porch with her coffee still warm, her grandchildren are running through the grass in bare feet, and nobody is slapping at anything. She has not called a pest control company. She has not sprayed a single drop of chemical on her lawn. She has not spent more than about $20 on her mosquito problem this entire summer. What she has done is understand where mosquitoes actually come from and cut them off at the source. Not the adults, the source, the water, the eggs, the larvae that become the next 10,000 biting adults before they ever take their first flight. That is the whole game, and once you see it, it is not complicated. It is just patient, and it is cheap, and it works at the level the spray trucks never reach. My name is Amos Stoltzfus. I am Amish, and I farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. My grandchildren run this same farm and these same fields. I ran as a boy, and I will tell you plainly that the mosquitoes in Lancaster County in July are not a small thing. They are a real problem on a working farm with animals and standing water and wet low ground and children in the yard from morning until dark. We do not spray. We have not sprayed in many years, and the mosquito pressure around our house and our porch is a fraction of what it was when we were fighting them the way the hardware store wanted us to fight them. Today I am going to walk you through the full property-wide system, not one trick. A system, 4 methods that work at 4 different stages of the mosquito's life, each one covering the weakness of the others, so that by the end of the summer, the breeding cycle on your property is broken and the populations that have been making your yard miserable are quietly, steadily collapsing. Quick word before we go further. I have written a book that gathers all of these little money-saving methods my family uses, the things that have kept our household costs low for 2 generations, into one place. It is at amosstoltzfus.com. I will not bring it up again in the video. If you want it, it is there. And I will be honest with you the whole way, the way I always am. The title says, Guaranteed Safe and Kill Every Mosquito in Your Whole Yard. Let me tell you what that means plainly, and what it does not mean, because you deserve the honest word before we go a single step further. Guaranteed safe means every method I am about to show you has been reviewed and approved by the Environmental Protection Agency, used by public mosquito control programs in this country for 30 years or more, and is safe around children, pets, honeybees, fish, birds, and every beneficial creature you want to keep. I will not show you a method I would not use in the same yard where my grandchildren take off their shoes and run. Kill every mosquito in your whole yard means something more honest than it sounds on a title card. No method made by man or nature eliminates every mosquito from an outdoor space. Mosquitoes fly in from a quarter-mile away. The neighbor's gutter breeds them. The low, wet ditch down the road breeds them. What this system does, done consistently from May through September, is suppress the breeding cycle on your own property so severely that the populations around your house and your porch drop to a fraction of what they were. Not zero, a fraction. Enough of a fraction that your Saturday morning coffee is yours again. That is what is honestly possible. And that is enough. Stay with me. Let me first tell you a thing about mosquitoes that changes everything once you understand it. Because most folks are fighting this problem at the wrong stage, and that is why they are losing. A female mosquito lives about 2 to 3 weeks. In that time, she will bite you several times, and she will lay eggs several times. Each time she lays, she puts down a raft of 100 to 200 eggs in a patch of standing water no bigger than a bottle cap. Those eggs hatch in 24 to 48 hours. The larvae spend about a week in the water growing. Then they become pupae for a day or two. Then they emerge as adults, and within a day or two the females are biting. Here is the number that matters. One female mosquito in one breeding season produces several hundred offspring. Each of those offspring produces several hundred more. The math compounds fast. A single neglected bird bath or a single clogged gutter or a single tarp pooling rainwater on your property is not one mosquito problem. It is 10,000 mosquito problems 4 weeks from now. The spray truck kills the adults flying in your yard on the day it comes. It does not touch the eggs in your gutter, or the larvae in the flower pot saucer, or the pupae in the low spot behind the shed. 3 weeks later, the same truck has to come back because 3 weeks later a new generation has hatched from the same water it never reached. That is why the spray contract is a monthly contract. Not because mosquitoes are unstoppable, because the spray only fights adults and the adults are replaced by the water you never dealt with. Once you understand that, the whole strategy becomes plain. You fight them in the water before they can fly, and you fight the adults that get through with tools that are safe enough to leave out all summer without worrying about what they are doing to your garden or your dog or your grandchildren's bare feet. That is the system. Now let me show you each piece of it. The first method is the one that does more good than all the others combined, costs nothing, and takes 20 minutes a week. It is also the one the pest control company will never tell you about because if you do it well, they have no reason to come back. Eliminate the standing water. I know how plain that sounds. I know you have heard it before. I am going to tell you what most folks miss when they do it, because I have watched careful people walk their yards and miss half of what is breeding on their own property. Every female mosquito needs standing water. Not a pond, not a puddle, a teaspoon. A bottle cap, the small amount of water that sits in the angle of a deckboard after rain, the water that pools in the dip of a plastic lid left on the porch, the film of water in the bottom of an overturned trash can lid. Here is what to look for. Walk your property on a Saturday morning once a week from May through September. Walk it slowly. Look low. Mosquitoes breed in low places and small containers not in the middle of the lawn. Gutters. This is where most yards breed most of their mosquitoes, and most folks never look up. A clogged gutter holds water for weeks after a rain. The leaves block the flow, the water sits, and that one gutter is a mosquito factory running all summer 20 feet above your head while you are spraying the lawn below it. Clean your gutters in April before mosquito season and check them again in June. That single step cuts the mosquito problem on most properties by half. Tarps and covers. A tarp over a wood pile, a boat, a piece of equipment. If it has any depression in it at all, it holds water after every rain. Pull the tarp tight, prop the center so water runs off, or put a few small holes in the low spots so the water drains. Any tarp that pools water is breeding mosquitoes. Flower pot saucers. Every saucer under every pot on your porch or your deck holds a small pool of water. Empty them once a week. Better yet, remove them entirely in the summer and set the pots on a piece of gravel that drains freely. The bird bath. Empty it and refill it every 2 days. The eggs need standing water that sits still for at least 48 hours to hatch. Fresh water every other day, and the bird bath never breeds a single mosquito, and the birds still come. Old tires. A single tire lying on the ground holds water in its curve through the whole summer, even after weeks of dry weather, because the rubber holds it and the shade keeps it from evaporating. One old tire has been found to breed as many as 10,000 mosquito larvae in a single season. By researchers studying exactly this problem, haul the tires off or stand them upright against a wall where they drain. Low spots in the yard where water pools after rain. If a spot in your yard holds water for more than 3 days after a rain, it is breeding. Fill the low spot with clean topsoil, grate it so the water flows away, or plant it with something that drinks the water fast. A willow or a clump of native rushes will drink a low wet spot dry. The rain barrel. A covered rain barrel is fine. An uncovered one is a breeding pool. Screen the top with fine mesh, the kind with holes small enough that a mosquito cannot get through to lay on the surface. Hardware cloth is not fine enough. Window screen is. Children's toys, a dump truck left in the yard, a bucket, a sandbox with a cover that pools water in its depression. Anything that holds water, walk and look with new eyes. Pretend you are a mosquito looking for a quiet pool to lay your eggs, and you will find things you have walked past 100 times. This weekly habit, 20 minutes, costs nothing, requires nothing but your own 2 feet and the willingness to look carefully, is the single most powerful mosquito control method available to a homeowner. The researchers who study vector control, the scientists whose job is reducing mosquito-borne disease in human populations, they say the same thing in every paper. Source reduction first. Everything else is secondary. Do this first. Do it every week. Everything that follows makes it more powerful. But this one alone changes the yard. The second method is the BTI bucket, and it is the closest thing to a perfect tool for mosquito control that I have ever seen in 50 years of farming. BTI stands for Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis. It is a naturally occurring soil bacterium, a tiny living creature found in soil all over the world that produces a protein that is toxic to mosquito larvae and a handful of other closely related insects. To everything else, bees, butterflies, fish, birds, mammals, children, dogs, cats, it is completely harmless. Not mostly harmless. Completely harmless, it does not affect the nervous system. It does not bioaccumulate. It does not persist in the environment. It kills larval mosquitoes, and then it is done. The EPA has reviewed it. The World Health Organization has reviewed it. Mosquito control districts across this country have been using it in public waterways, storm drains, marshes, and ponds for over 30 years. It is used in drinking water reservoirs in some countries. That is how safe it is. You can buy it at any garden center or online in small dunks, brown donut-shaped tablets about the size of a large cookie under the brand name Mosquito Dunks. A pack of 6 runs about $8 or $9, and each dunk treats 50 square feet of water surface for 30 days. Here is how to use it on your property. For any standing water you cannot eliminate, a low spot that always holds water, a decorative pond, a rain barrel, a stock tank, a drainage ditch that runs slow after rain, drop in a BTI dunk. 1 dunk per small container. Break a dunk into quarters for a small barrel or a flower pot that you cannot empty. The dunk sits in the water, slowly releasing the bacteria. Every mosquito larva that hatches in that water eats the BTI and dies before it can fly. The water stays. The mosquitoes do not come from it anymore. For your BTI bucket, take any dark bucket. A 5-gallon bucket works well. Fill it with water and add 1 BTI dunk. Place it in a shaded corner of your yard where the mosquitoes already congregate, against the fence, behind the shed, in the damp corner by the foundation. Female mosquitoes looking for a place to lay their eggs will find the bucket, fly into the shade, land on the water, and lay their eggs. Those eggs hatch into larvae that eat the BTI and die. The water sits there all month doing its work, and you do nothing but replace the dunk once a month and top off the water as it evaporates. That bucket is not catching adult mosquitoes. It is eliminating the next generation before it hatches. Every female that chooses your bucket instead of your gutter or your neighbor's low spot is a clutch of 100 eggs that never becomes 100 biting adults. Run 2 or 3 BTI buckets on a property under a 1/4 acre. 1 near the fence line, 1 in the shadiest corner, 1 near any area where water tends to sit. They work around the clock, in the rain, in the heat, without any attention from you except a fresh dunk once a month. The cost for an entire summer on a quarter-acre property, 4 packs of dunks, is about $35. The pest control truck charges that per visit and comes every 3 weeks. The third method is the one that the old farmers understood and the modern suburb has forgotten. You are not the only one who wants the mosquitoes gone. Put the hunters to work. A single little brown bat eats between 600 to 1,000 insects per hour on a warm summer night. Not 600 mosquitoes specifically. Bats eat whatever flying insect is most available. But in a yard with a heavy mosquito population, mosquitoes are what is available. A colony of 20 bats in a bat house on your property is running every night from dusk until well past midnight, eating the adult mosquitoes that emerge from the fields and the trees around your house. A bat house costs $15 to $25 at any farm supply store, or you can build one from scrap lumber in an afternoon. The design matters less than the placement. A bat house must be mounted high, at least 10 to 15 feet off the ground, on a pole or the side of a building facing south or southeast to catch the morning sun. Bats need warmth in the house to roost and raise their young. A bat house in the shade on the north side of a tree will sit empty for years. The same house on a south-facing pole in an open area will have tenants within a season or two. It takes patience. Bats do not move in the week you put the house up. They find it on their own, in their own time, and once they do, they come back every year. The colony grows. The hunting in your yard gets better every summer. That is the long game, and it is worth playing. Purple martins are the daytime version. A colony of purple martins will work the air above your yard from dawn until dusk, eating flying insects by the thousand. A martin house on a pole in an open area of your yard, raised 12 to 18 feet, brought in and put up by the 1st of April, before the scouts arrive, is an investment in summers of cleaner air above your property. Purple martins are colonial nesters, which means they want to live in a community and they return to the same site year after year. Once you have a colony established, the colony itself recruits new birds. Swallows need no house at all. A barn swallow will nest in any outbuilding with an opening, under eaves, on a rafter end, anywhere it can anchor mud to a surface. If you have a shed or a garage with an open vent or a gap under the eave, you may already have swallows working your property and not have given them the credit they deserve. None of these creatures eliminate mosquitoes entirely. None of them are magic. But a property with an active bat colony, a martin house, and a pair of swallows nesting in the shed has an army of hunters running shifts around the clock that cost you nothing to feed and nothing to maintain. They eat your mosquitoes. They go home. They come back tomorrow. The old farms were full of these creatures because the old farmers knew what they were worth and built the houses and the barns and the eaves that gave them a home. The modern neighborhood pushes them out and then wonders why the mosquitoes are so bad. Let them back in. The fourth method is the one you use on your own skin and clothing when you go into the places where the mosquitoes will find you, no matter what else you have done. The wood's edge, the low wet field, the marsh, the places away from your treated yard where the wild creatures live, and the mosquitoes are not yours to manage. Oil of lemon eucalyptus. This is not a folk remedy. The Centers for Disease Control recommends it alongside the chemical repellents as a proven effective protection against mosquito bites. It comes from the leaves of the lemon eucalyptus tree, and the active compound, a natural chemical called PMD, disrupts the mosquito's ability to smell you. She cannot find the carbon dioxide trail. She cannot locate the warmth. She flies past you the way she would fly past a stone. It is not as long-lasting as the chemical repellents. It needs reapplication every 2 to 3 hours instead of every 4 to 6. That is its honest limitation. But it is plant-derived, it carries no neurotoxin warning, and it is safe for children over 3 years of age, which is the recommendation from the CDC itself. Under 3, use a clothing barrier instead. A small spray bottle of oil of lemon eucalyptus runs about $8 to $10 at any pharmacy and lasts the season for a family that uses it as a targeted tool for the woods and the wet places rather than as a daily yard spray. Apply it to exposed skin and to clothing, socks and trouser cuffs especially, before you go into tall grass or the brush. That is where they are waiting, and that is where the exposure happens. In your managed yard, with the other 3 methods working, you should rarely need it. Out in the world, it is the honest protection that does not cost you the bees or the butterflies or your peace of mind about what is on your children's skin. Now I want to take a moment because this is the part that matters. Look at what we have just walked through. A 20-minute weekly walk to eliminate standing water. A bucket of BTI in the shade that runs all month on a $9 dunk. Bat houses and martin houses that once the colony is established, work every night for free. And a bottle of plant-based repellent for the times you go into the wild places. The total cost to set this up for one summer, bat house, 2 packs of BTI dunks, a bottle of lemon eucalyptus spray, maybe $35, maybe $40 if you buy a second pack of dunks for the second half of summer. The pest control company that knocks on your door in April wants $400 to $700 for a season. Their main tool is a synthetic pyrethroid, a chemical that kills the adult mosquitoes in your yard on the day of the visit and also kills your honeybees and your bumblebees and your dragonflies, which are themselves some of the most effective mosquito hunters alive. They spray your whole lawn. They tell you to keep the dog inside for the recommended time. They tell you nothing about the gutter that is breeding 10,000 mosquitoes a week above your head. They come back in 3 weeks, because in 3 weeks the larvae that hatched after the last spray have grown up and the breeding water they never touched has produced another generation. And you need the truck again. There is a great deal of money in selling a family a monthly mosquito contract. There is no money at all in telling a man to clean his gutters, drop a $9 dunk in a bucket, and put up a bat house. So nobody runs a commercial for BTI. Nobody knocks on your door to tell you that the bird bath you empty every other day is your most powerful mosquito control tool. The white truck runs the commercial. The spray company sends the postcard in April. And a whole nation comes to believe that the answer to mosquitoes must cost $400 a season and involve a man in a hazmat suit. It does not. The old farmers dealt with mosquitoes the way they dealt with every pest that came for the family, by understanding what the creature needed and cutting it off before it could get it, by putting the natural hunters to work, by keeping a clean and well-drained property, and by not paying a man to do monthly what good habits do for free. The knowledge has been here the whole time. Most folks have just never been told to look for it. So here is what I want you to do this week. This Saturday morning, before anything else, walk your property with new eyes. Look for every container, every depression, every corner that holds water. Empty every one. Fix the gutter if it needs fixing. Pull the tarp tight. Turn the tires upright. Empty the saucers under the pots. Then order a pack of mosquito dunks online or pick one up at your farm supply or garden center. Fill a dark bucket with water, drop in a dunk, and put the bucket in the shadiest corner of your yard. If your budget allows it this season, put up a bat house on the south side of a pole at least 10 feet up in an open area. You may wait a year for tenants. They will come. And pick up a small bottle of oil of lemon eucalyptus for the times you go into the tall grass or the wood edge. Apply it to the socks and the cuffs and the back of the neck. Do those 4 things, and then do the 20-minute walk every Saturday from now until the first frost. Write down what you see in August. Write down whether your porch is yours again. Write down whether the grandchildren can run through the yard at dusk without coming inside to count their bites. Most folks who run this system honestly for a full season report that by late July, the mosquito pressure around their house is something they no longer think about. Not because the mosquitoes are gone from the county, because their property has stopped feeding them. Tell me in the comments below where the mosquitoes are worst on your property. The porch in the evening, the yard after rain, the low wet corner by the back fence, the edge of the woods, and if you live in one of the parts of this country where mosquitoes carry something serious, the Gulf Coast, the upper Midwest in a wet year, the river bottoms of the South, tell me how bad it has gotten this summer. Because the folks just starting to deal with real mosquito pressure should hear from the folks who are already in the middle of it. I read every single one. Next time, since we have been speaking of how to keep the small biting creatures off the family and out of the yard, I am going to show you the old way my people keep mice and rats out of the granary and the home. The simple traps, the doorway tricks, and the small habits that mean you never have a rodent problem in the first place. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, clean the gutters, drop the dunk, and remember that the mosquito has been losing this game to patient people for as long as patient people have been paying attention to where the water sits.